Hi everyone, happy Friday! Today's story is Thumbelina. There once was a tiny girl who was no bigger than a thumb. She was called Thumbelina. She lived in a beautiful flower in a warm and happy house. On bright mornings, she would row across the milk bowl with a whistle and a giggle as she went, smiling and happy with the world. But one day, as she slept beside the window, a nasty toad mother crept up and snatched her. She trapped Thumbelina on a lily leaf, too small to swim home, too afraid to call for help. The toad mother was going to make Thumbelina marry her horrid toad son. As Thumbelina's tears splashed into the pool, the fish looked up and saw how lovely she was. They just had to help. So they nibbled and they gone through the stem of the lily until the leaf floated free. "Oh, thank you! Oh, thank you!" she called as she floated away. But as she drifted, she realized that she was going further and further away from her home. Suddenly, a mayfly landed on her leaf. Without even saying hello, it poked her and said, My, you are a pretty little thing. I think I shall take you back to my family." "Oh, it has wings," said the mother. "Ugh, it has no feelers," said the brother. "Yuck! It only has 2 feet," said the sister, "and it's so ugly." They cast Thumbelina from their tree. Winter had come, and Thumbelina was all alone in the world. Great snowflakes fell, and the ground grew colder. Shivering and hungry, Thumbelina lay on the frozen ground and wept. Just as she was falling asleep into a deep, deep sleep, she felt a warm breath upon her face. Who could it be? When she awoke, she found herself in the home of a field mouse. He had saved her, and Thumbelina would be eternally grateful. She and Mouse spent the whole winter together, happy in his cosy little home. Beside the merry little fire, they were safe and warm from the frosty winds outside. That winter, Thumbelina would walk with Mouse to visit his friend Mole every afternoon for a cup of tea and homemade cakes. They had a splendid time, and Mole began to grow rather fond of Thumbelina. Mouse was so kind to Thumbelina, but she soon found that he wanted her to repay him. The following year, Thumbelina would have to go and live with Mole in his dark underground hole. One day, on the way to Mole's, Thumbelina heard a crying from the frosty earth above. She crept to the surface, and there she found a small bird lying in a tangled nest of twigs and leaves. "I was too tired to fly with my friends this winter," cried the poor swallow. Look, he was off with a suitcase to Spain and Egypt. So Thumbelina visited Swallow secretly every day, taking him seeds and water to make him strong again. Very soon they became the best of friends, and over the seasons that followed, he slowly got better and better, until eventually Swallow was strong enough to fly away. "I will never forget you," he cried. "And I will never forget you," she said. And she didn't, but she missed him. And since he had gone, Thumbelina had spent all of her days inside with Mouse, and now the time had come to go and live with Mole in his dark underground hole. Thumbelina longed to see the sky one more time, so she crept out early one morning whilst the ground was still soft. A tear rolled down her cheek. "Goodbye, flowers," she said sadly. Suddenly a bird landed beside her. "Why are you crying?" he asked. "Because," she wept, not looking up, "I have to marry an old blind mole tomorrow, and I'll have to live underground forever." He smiled, and then laughingly, gently he said, "Thumbelina, it's me, your old friend Swallow. You once saved me, and now I can save you." Thumbelina threw her arms around his neck and held on tightly. Then they took off and soared away from all her troubles, over mountains, past babbling brooks, and through the fields dotted all over with wild and colourful flowers. She felt alive again. Everything looked so small from the air that Thumbelina forgot how small she was and started to feel strong again. Then Swallow called out to her, "Pick a flower! That is where you shall live." As they swooped towards the ground, Thumbelina saw a beautiful white flower. "That one," she pointed. But as she fell softly into the flower, Thumbelina gave a little cry of surprise, for right there in the middle was the Prince of the Fairies. Swallow waved goodbye with a promise to visit her every spring. And so at last Thumbelina had found her home. The end. So see you next spring, love Swallow, to the Prince and Princess of the Fairies. The end.